This is from the point of view of a female. I was 16 when this happened, years ago. There were 2 incidents that happened before the really scary incident. We lived in a fairly new residential neighborhood. At night, about 10 p.m., I was lying in bed doing homework and heard this tapping at my window. My mother wasn't home that night, and my father was already asleep. I jumped out of bed and ran into his room and said, "Dad, someone is outside tapping on my window." My dad thought I was being a hysterical teenager and peeked out his own window and said, it was probably a tree branch or something. He then went back to bed. My father was a lazy bastard, couldn't even be bothered to go look out my window or outside. Never mind the fact that there was no bush or tree near enough to touch the window. I was creeped out, but I double-checked no one could see in my bedroom and that the curtains covered everything and went back to bed. A few weeks later, I was sitting in the living room, just me and my mom home. I had just finished taking a shower and was lounging in a towel while talking to my mom and painting my toenails. Suddenly, we both heard a tapping and scratching noise at the side window. My mom was pissed. She immediately jumped up and went outside where she confronted a man. The man walked off. She ran in the house and called the police. The police came and they caught the guy a few blocks away. The man claimed that he was just there between the houses because he had to take a leak. The police said, "Okay, if you were taking a leak, where's the urine?" There was none. He was hauled off to jail for at least trespassing. I'm not sure if he was charged with being a peeping Tom or not. Fast forward about a month later, I woke up in the middle of the night because my cat suddenly jumped off the bed. I heard a slight noise in the hallway. I tiptoed to my bedroom door and peeked out, and there he was, the man who had been peeking. The moment I saw him, he was standing in the doorway of my little sister's room with a gun in his hand, and he was just starting to close the door. He had a gun in one hand and a bag in the other. That wasn't the room he wanted. I was sure I was about to die a horrible death after being raped. I've never had an adrenaline rush so big in my life. Not even years later when I jumped out of a perfectly good airplane to skydive a few times. I was suddenly and powerfully alert. I'm telling you that I had super strength, hearing, and sight. It might be my imagination, but I swear I could see, hear, and smell better than normal. An effect of all that adrenaline, I guess. Within a few seconds, I considered my options. Scream? He had a gun. My father would come running and get shot. Try and fight him. Again, he had a gun. This was before cell phones and I didn't have a phone in my room. So, without any hesitation, I quickly opened up my window and jumped out, bare feet onto the gravel. I am the kind of girl with zero upper body strength, and yet I was able to get up and out that window quickly and quietly with hardly any effort. Landing on the gravel and bare feet didn't even hurt a tiny bit. Did I mention that I was completely nude? Yeah, I sleep in the nude. What can I say? It was summer and it was hot. I ran about 3 houses down to a neighbor's house and banged on the door. Let me tell you, as a 16-year-old girl, the thought of anyone seeing you naked is horrifying beyond belief. But in that moment, I didn't care for 1 second. I went 3 houses down because I didn't want that creepy man to hear me banging on a door. When I didn't get an immediate response, I went to the next house and banged on their door. The whole time, I'm terrified for my family and my house. Finally, someone at this house answered the door quickly, and I just got out. Man in my house. Call the police. Man in my house. They called 911. The police were there really fast. They came in without lights and sirens, and they caught the guy in the house. in my room. This is what he brought with him: a gun, a bag that included rope, tape, 2 X-Acto knives, a couple of dildos, bondage porn magazines, bleach, condoms, lube, a ball gag, pliers, and some other stuff that I can't remember off the top of my head. Luckily, it never went to court. He did a plea bargain and got 25 to life for a whole slew of charges. He's still in prison and will be for the rest of his life because a few years after going to jail, he got a life sentence for committing a murder while inside prison. The DA who had handled my case called me to tell me, "Thank God. I didn't sleep well again for a number of years. I would wake up numerous times per night at the slightest noise, or even hint of noise. It wasn't until I got a dog that I was able to sleep. I let my dog do his job, warn me of any noise. Now I can sleep. It didn't hurt that I also got a gun and keep it near me when I sleep. I took a gun safety class and lessons, and I go to the range every month without fail. I will kill any motherfucker who comes into my house in the night." When I was 16 years old, I moved from a neighborhood that wasn't so great to one where all the rich kids lived. My mom is disabled, so we found an apartment complex specifically for that reason, where all the countertops and shelves were low enough for her to reach. I made many friends, and for once I felt I had everything I needed. One night, me and my friend headed over to a neighbor's house where she was telling us that she believed the place was built on ancient Indian burial grounds because she would see people walk past her door late at night, and at 3 in the morning, someone came and rang her doorbell. I brushed off the story and didn't think anything of it until one night. I was in my room and heard someone outside my window talking. I had no curtains on my window, by the way, just blinds, so I ran straight to my mom's room and told her. She told me that it was just my imagination and to go back in there and go to bed. So I did. Not 5 minutes later, I hear the voice again. So I grabbed my friend and my field hockey stick and a softball bat and was ready to face whatever and whoever it was. But no one was there. After that night, I only slept in the living room. For weeks on end, I believed that there were ghosts haunting this place until one day I came home from school, and my mom says the visitors are coming over to talk to me about my ghosts. I was extremely confused until 2 police officers showed up asking me about what I heard. I told them exactly what happened, and they said that the workers found a cinder block and a stool behind a tree right by my window, and the grass by my window was completely dead. When I asked them to show me, I was immediately sick to my stomach that someone had been watching me, and when I moved into the living room to sleep, he moved too. I cried and just felt disgusting that this had happened. They put cameras out and the workers were able to see the description of the man and the fact he brought a dog with him. The dog saw the cameras right away though. For the longest time, I couldn't sleep in my room and was so relieved that he knew we had cameras so he wouldn't come around anymore. Until last year, me and a friend of mine were driving around one night, causing havoc like young teenagers do. When we pulled into my apartment complex, I saw a man with the exact same description of my peeping Tom, with his dog. I automatically tensed up and my friend even said that she didn't get a good vibe from it. When we parked, we noticed he went around my apartment building and that as soon as he walked by us, he pulled his hood over his face. I never found out who it was. It still creeps me out to this day.